Episode 4, Future Leaders.
This is Earl Nightingale, and I want to tell you a little story which could make a wonderful difference in your life. You may already know about everything I'm going to say. If you do, you're a remarkable person. And according to the latest statistics, you belong to the top 5% of all the working people in the world. You're to be congratulated. If you don't know about the things I'm going to say, you've been holding yourself back, not only on the job, but you're also missing a big percentage of the greatest joy in life. I want to talk about your boss and your relationship with him. How you handle this relationship will determine your success or failure. It will determine how much money you make or do not make, and it will determine whether you're a happy person or an unhappy person. So let's talk about you and your boss. Who is your boss? You have only one. And every working person, from the president of the largest corporation to the shoeshine boy, has the same boss. He is simply the customer. There never has been, there is not now, and there never will be any boss but the customer. He is the one boss you must please. Everything you own, he has paid for. He buys your home, your cars, your clothes. He pays for your vacations and puts your children through school. He pays your doctor bills and writes every paycheck you will ever receive. He will give you every promotion you will ever obtain during your lifetime, and he will discharge you if you displease him. Sometimes, particularly these days of seemingly complex economics and big business, we lose sight of just what business is. A person's money is the result of his production, and he trades it for things he needs and wants. And it's here that logical discrimination comes into the picture. Since his money is the result of his work, it's left to his discretion as to where he spends it. It is here that he assumes the role of boss. He will spend his money only with those whom he feels have earned it, and this is as it should be. You and I are exactly the same way. If someone treats you badly in any way, you instinctively feel that he has not earned your business, and you will withhold it from him. Over a period of time, this amounts to a really substantial penalty. This amount of money can be lost by not realizing who the boss really is. The same thing applies to our clothes, drug items, hardware, cleaning, gasoline, automobiles, everything we purchase. This money pays your salary and mine, if we earn it. And our prosperity as individuals hinges directly on our attitude toward what we do for a living. The man who works on an automotive assembly line might not think much about the car at the point of sale, nor about the family which will eventually buy and travel in that car. But that family pays his salary, and they will withhold the purchase of the car on which he works if it does not earn their respect and admiration. If you doubt this, even for a moment, think of the cars which once were popular and which can no longer be seen on the road. This applies to all products. Having earned a successful place in the economy should not be confused with keeping it. It must be earned every day, year in, year out. There's not a company that could not go out of business. Everything depends on how the boss is treated, the boss being the customer. And yet, the customer is eminently fair, just as you are. He can be won back, and if he's treated with the importance that he deserves, he can, in a few years, bring a lot of other people into your place of business. Now, let me tell you something you may not have thought about. If you got in your car and started driving across the country, you'd pass many thousands of businesses, from small restaurants, drugstores, grocery stores, gas stations, to great sprawling corporate complexes covering hundreds of acres and employing thousands of people. By simply looking at each one, you can tell how they're treating the boss. Did you know that your rewards are in exact proportion to your service? Well, that's right. We're paid exactly what we earn, but no more. And you can tell by looking at any business exactly what it has earned by seeing what it has. It's the same with people. We get back exactly what we earn, but not a penny more. And this, again, is just the way it should be. A person might be underpaid for a while, but the scales of life must balance eventually, and he will, in the end, receive just what he's earned. There are, of course, two ways in which we're paid for what we do. One is tangible in the form of money, the other is intangible, but just as important. To many, it's more important. This latter form of payment comes in the form of inner satisfaction, in the form of joy as a result of accomplishment. It also comes in the form of satisfaction in position and the standing it gives us. So each of us is paid in these two ways, money and satisfaction. And there's a very simple way to increase both of these forms of income. You may wonder how I can say that I can tell you of a simple way to increase your income from the standpoint of money as well as inner satisfaction. Yet I can, and you'll be able to see and spend the results. First, I want you to understand and believe completely the great law which lies as the foundation of all life, business and personal. It is, our rewards in life will be in exact proportion to our service. The more you think about this and observe people and businesses in their true light, the more you'll see the undeniable truth of it. Now, try as best you can to estimate the proportion of your total ability you have been giving to your work. I don't think anyone gives 100%. I don't think it's possible to give 100% day in and day out. I know I don't. But estimate what you consider to be the percentage of 100% you have been giving to your work. Would you say it's been 30%? 50%? Anyway, try to decide. Now, since your rewards will be in exact proportion to your service, you can increase your income both financially and from an inner satisfaction standpoint simply by narrowing the distance between what you have been giving to your work and the 100% of which it may be said you could give under ideal conditions. You don't have to ask for a raise. The income will appear of its own accord and in the right time. You may want to question this, but try to take my word for it. Now, the second point I want to make is this. If you will begin to do your work better than you've ever done before, you will immediately begin to receive incalculably more inner satisfaction. You'll also find that what may have been a boring or uninteresting job will take on new meaning and interest. No matter what it is you do, during the entire working day, try in every case to do a little more than you have to, more than you're being paid for. Because unless you do more than you're being paid for now, you can't hope for or justify an increase in pay. And the third point I want to make is this. Each of us is interdependent. As I pointed out earlier, other people pay our salaries, buy our homes, clothe, feed, and educate our children. Therefore, we depend upon others for our very lives, just as they must depend upon us. If we expect others to give us excellent service and fine products for the money we spend, doesn't it make good sense that we should treat them the same way? Every hour spent at our work should be spent in the attempt to give the best of which we're capable. A baker's dozen for the money our company's customers spend for our products and services, and with which our salaries are paid. A person who tries to get the maximum return for the minimum of effort is only kidding himself. Sooner or later, the scales will balance. They must, for that is the law, whether we like it or not. This kind of individual actually shrinks as a person, as a human being, and he has no real place in a dynamic and swiftly changing world. The fourth point is to try each day to find some way in which the work you're doing can be improved. Here again, you're guaranteeing an increase in your income, in both categories. We all know the cynical type of individual who laugh at this. I know them, you know them. But I don't know one who can be said to be doing well. Do you? I know lots of men and women who are at the top of their fields who live their lives every day in the way I have suggested. Rather than go along with someone who's never proved in his own life that he knows what he's talking about, I'd prefer to believe the one who said, "As ye sow, so shall ye reap." I feel, as I'm sure you do, that he was more qualified to speak than the know-it-all who's behind in his installment payments. Anyway, it's worth a test. If you'll follow my suggestions for the next year, you'll be a different person, living a rich, rewarding, and meaningful life. 4 things, all of them simple. 1, remember that our rewards in life will be in exact proportion to our service. 2, by giving your work a larger percentage of your capabilities and talents, you must increase your income substantially. 3, since our lives depend on others, treat others in every facet of your life exactly as you want others to treat you. If you expect others to give you excellent products and services for the money you and your family spend, then you should make certain that your job is handled as excellently as it is possible for you, since it is the money of others which pays your salary. 4, try to find some way every day in which your work can be improved. And above all, know your boss. He's the customer. Treat him with the respect, care, courtesy, and good humor he deserves. Remember, he pays all of your bills every month. He will buy everything you will ever own. He may be coarse, crude, ignorant, selfish, conniving, and a thoroughgoing savage. He often will be. Here it is more important than ever that you treat him with all the care and attention you can muster. If you don't, and if you permit his attitude to affect yours, you're admitting that he's the stronger person. If you respond the same way he conducts himself, you're admitting you're no better than he is. But most people are nice people. They're people like you and me who want to be liked, who want to get along, who want to be friends. They have problems and sorrows of their own, of which we're not aware. And they have bad days and disappointments. Make sure that the time they're with you is a high spot in their day, and that they'll want to come back, not just because of your company, but because of you. If you'll do these things for a year, you'll be surprised and delighted. And you'll find you wouldn't live any other way for the world. If you're already living this way, you know what I mean.
If doing things for a year seems like a big challenge, realize the people who rise to the top are people willing to do all the things the followers in life will not do.
The common denominator of success is forming the habit of doing what failures don't like to do. And the thing failures dislike most is making the wisest possible use of time, one act at a time, all day. Form this habit, and as William James put it, you wake up one fine day to find you're among the competent ones of your generation.
Being one of the competent ones means we must be prepared.
Are we as prepared as we should be? What do we know? How well have we developed our talents and abilities are inherent in us? If we don't see opportunity in our work, it's in our vision. We're not looking deeply enough, freely enough, and so we fail to see the opportunities for expression available in our present work. Belong to the group that thinks education comes naturally, just from being alive? Do we think the education we have is good enough to stretch over a lifetime? What are we doing about it? Are we sponges soaking up knowledge on every side? For many, a diploma or college degree is like a vaccination. In fact, it's called the vaccination theory of education. These people believe that once the diploma or degree's in hand, education for them is over. A college president reported that as he walked toward the podium on commencement day, he overheard a senior saying to another, "Thank God it's over. I'll never open another book as long as I live." He said they were the saddest words he ever heard. Somehow the idea of education had not been sold to that young man, nor did he know the meaning, strangely enough, of the word commencement. Education is a lifelong process and should end only when we do. And commencement means beginning. Beginning of independence, yes, but also the beginning of the enriching education that will hang the pictures in our minds and determine what we become as persons. Ideas, the great ideas that move us to be better and greater than we know, are the deep anchors that will hold us steadfastly in place when the great storms of life crash around us. Daily anchors that prevent our being intimidated or diverted from our path by expediency or fad or shallow opportunity. And they provide us with a set of sensors that can pick up the dishonest and the phony, getting the cheap and shoddy. The quick past a person conditioned by such ideas is like trying to sneak a sunrise by a rooster. Such great ideas provide a security system for us without disturbing our sense of humor. In fact, our sense of humor is greatly enriched by such ideas, and smiling and laughter become important parts of our days. Now, we're by no means immune to mistakes, but understand that they're a natural part of growth and reaching into the unknown future. And are the ideas we hold in concert with our goals? They must be, if our goals are to be successfully achieved. What is an idea? We say, I have an idea. What is that? It's surely neurochemical response, or it's that too. An idea is the bringing together of known increments to provide a result. Let's go to the beach, someone says. Without a moment's hesitation, we take the known beach factor, add it to existing transportation facilities, the proper clothing, possibly a picnic lunch, and suggest the resulting idea to those we're with at the time. It all happens instantaneously, although all sorts of interconnections are going on in our brains. The greater our general information, the more combinations we can put together, and the greater the reach of our possibility thinking, as Dr. Robert Schuller calls it. That's why young people should think twice before complaining about school courses they'll never use as adults. All information of a positive kind has value when formulating ideas. When we set an important goal for ourselves, we present to our mind a problem to be solved, a challenge to be successfully fulfilled. Instantly, far down in the labyrinthine interstices of its vast potential, the mind goes to work to find the information we need to turn that idea into reality. The idea of getting an automobile becomes a true automobile we can drive and wash on a warm Sunday afternoon. Perhaps from inception of the idea to the time we get into the automobile, turn on the key, and drive away is rather torturous, even circular, leading first here and then there. often than not be getting our own way by doubting the suggestions that filter into our consciousness, only to discover later that they would have been marvelous shortcuts and simplifications of the process if we had only heeded them. But eventually, the invisible idea, becomes sheet steel and glass and upholstery and rubber, and from time to time, a pain in the neck as well. The idea has become real in our life, even if it takes 3 years to pay for it. Everything we obtain during our lifetimes comes to us as a result of that system. Often it consists of nothing more than a trip to the grocery store, or a telephone call, or a command for a teenager, followed by the rationalization of the command, and or the additional of offering some sort of reward for following through on the idea followed by fulfillment. And as our ideas progress upward, degree, trust, education, still the same process that result in fulfillment. Timidity, rationalization, occasion, just plain good common sense. Sometimes, as we toy or tinker with a delicious idea, our thinking process is flooded with other ideas indicating that that particular delicious idea will have to be postponed for a year or two, or maybe 5 years, even more. Our thinking process tells us, yes, it tells us, that we've made the kind of quantum leap that's out of place if we're to stick to our present hierarchy of plans and ideas. That's why a written list is a good idea. Not that we can't modify that list from time to time. In fact, as we learn how readily such a system brings us fulfillment of our goals, it's not at all unusual to upgrade our list to include levels we may not at first have thought were in the ballpark for us. Millions of people use this process without giving it a second thought, without understanding the process at all. A system, once understood and tested, can be applied to whatever we can seriously consider as goal material. All we need to do is leave it to the system. We don't have to fully understand the system in order to use it. The more we try to rationalize and understand every aspect of the working process, the more we tend to get in our own way and limit our potential. It works. Leave it at that.
Being prepared is the sum of our activities and positive actions. Earl continued this topic in the bestseller, Success in America.
You see, in preparing for what we do and in doing it, we become certain kinds of people who will just naturally live a certain way and have certain things. Each of us is responsible for what he or she becomes by virtue of the choices we make from the great spectrum of options with which we're confronted and for which our education prepares us. Our rich genetic inheritance gives each of us a wide range of options, and our free society gives us free choice from that range of options. The better the environment in which we're raised, or the better our education as young people and the better the education of our parents, the greater the spectrum of options we'll be exposed to during our formative years. Each new idea to which we're exposed raises a curtain on a new window of possible interest and opportunity. A child raised in a small village deep in the hills of an isolated area of the country may seem to be at the minimum range of options exposure, but television and radio bring to him a whole world beyond that small valley, and there are few places in that world to which he or she cannot aspire, and in which that youngster will not be welcome if he or she can qualify for them. Now, when we come to fully understand that we become what we think about, we begin to see how our goals can lead us to whatever requirements are necessary. The youngster who dreams of becoming, well, let's say a physician, knows that college and medical school are necessary. We become what we think about at all the years of our lives, and we can easily tell the extent and quality of a person's thinking by simply observing the extent and quality of that person's life.
Let me ask you a rather personal question. What do you believe in? Now, it sometimes seems that there's so much doubt, fear, and cynicism, so much tongue-in-cheek and wise guy elbow rib poking that we've come to the place where people don't believe in anything anymore. People doubt their own capacity for judgment, for knowing what's right or wrong. They wait to see what others do or say before they'll express an opinion of their own. So, what do you believe in? Now, this is not an unimportant question. It's as vital that each of us decides exactly what he does believe in as anything else, and I'll tell you why. It is what you believe in that will determine the course of your life, what happens to you, and your ultimate destiny. The great truth, as you believe, so shall it be done unto you, seems to go almost unnoticed today. But that's the way it works. What you believe in is what will happen to you. For belief is faith, and faith is still the greatest power on earth. A young medical student was being examined by a board of distinguished doctors to determine whether or not he would receive his license to practice. They asked him, "Why do you want to be a physician?" And he replied, "I've known I was going to be a doctor for as long as I can remember. There's simply no question about it. I'm going to be a practicing physician and a good one." He didn't beg the question. He told them he was going to be a doctor. They had no choice in the matter. The difference between faith and wanting or wishing is that with faith we know what's going to be. With the others, we're only hoping. It's what we believe that makes us the kind of people we are. The greater our faith, the greater we become. People who let others do their thinking for them, who will not venture forth an opinion on any subject until they're sure that what they say will be met with approval and acceptance, do not believe. They conform to a picture of what they think others want them to be like. They are chameleons, ready to take on any hue their surroundings demand. They have no deep anchors of belief, and so drift aimlessly on the surface of life. So when I asked you, what do you believe in, I meant, what do you have faith in? What would you be willing to risk everything you have on because of the certainty of your belief? If a person believes he's not much of a person, that's what he is. If he believes that he has value, that there's no other person on earth exactly like him, that he has an important contribution to make, and that he can reach the goals he sets for himself, these things are then true and will come to pass. People remain where they are because they believe that's where they ought to be, and they rise to new heights of achievement and ability because they believe they will. The greatest teachers who ever lived, men whose minds soared far above those of their times and whom we still read and believe, said that according to our faith will it be done unto us. And that, my friend, is the way it works. There are no arguments, no exceptions, no hair-splitting. What do you believe? Then that's what you are.
On our next episode, more information about competent thinking.
This is Earl Nightingale. Thank you.